Hello guys, and welcome to another MLB 12 The Show video here on my channel. I'm Dynamic Duos 1000, and I'm starting a new series today that I decided to start. I'm going to be doing I'm going to call it 30 clubs in 30 weeks. I'm going to be doing a video every week where I give you guys some background information on on a single MLB team, each week. So I'm going to go from the AL East all the way through the AL by division, going in, the order that it's in on MLB.com. So if you want to know who's the next team, you can easily just either check my channel or check my Twitter, because I'm probably going to be posting, what team is going to be next, so you guys know. And then I'm going to be posting, or you could go over to MLB.com and have pull the little teams pop up on the MLB thing, and you can track my progress. But we're doing the Baltimore Orioles today, and I decided to pick this game because it is the game going on today, and I'm going to do this the day that I record this game. I'm going to have the game going that they're playing this evening, or the afternoon if they played it earlier before I did this. So they're playing the Toronto Blue Jays at home. Tommy Hunter's on the mound for the Orioles, and then you've got the Blue Jays. Henderson Alvarez is going tonight. So I didn't really know the lineup, so I just left him the way that the game kind of brought him up. So this is basically just going to be kind of a different series than what most people are doing on YouTube at this time. Everybody is doing Road to the Show and Franchise, and I thought this would be a kind of a cool series to do. So before we get started, I want to make sure that I'm not playing this at all. And I'm just going to let the game go. This is a live commentary, so you can watch the gameplay and listen to me at the same time, or you can just listen to me. It doesn't really matter. So the Baltimore Orioles are a professional baseball team, obviously. They are in Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States, obviously. They are in the AL East Division, and they are one of the American League's 8 charter franchises in 1901, which means that they were one of the 8 franchise teams, or teams in the major leagues that were in the American League around that time. It was first started in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They were the original Milwaukee Brewers, and then they moved to St. Louis to become the St. Louis Browns. And then after 52 years, mostly hapless years in St. Louis, the Browns moved to Baltimore in 1954, and they changed their name to the Baltimore Orioles, adopting the name of the state bird of Maryland. So that's some cool things there. Of recent, the Orioles aren't exactly a team that you would expect to go to the postseason. Now, not always do you find, the Orioles pushing for a playoff spot, or do you find them going after big teams. They kind of remind me of a team that, goes with what they have and then go out and get, minor pieces to plug in to other places. Kind of like when they got Mark Reynolds. Mark Reynolds isn't exactly one of the greatest players out there, and he's not, a big-name free agent, but he can still produce some home runs. Yes, he is going to strike out, a certain amount of time, probably over 150 times a year, but you can probably get around that with his, crazy power. So probably the most iconic player to play for the Baltimore Orioles, at least in my opinion, you guys may have a different one, would be Cal Ripken Jr. Now, Cal Ripken Jr. did retire in 2001, and if you guys do remember, he hit his, I don't think it was his only home run in an All-Star game, but he did hit a home run on the first pitch in his first at-bat in the 2001 All-Star game. I believe it was in Seattle. And, that was a crazy moment. I remember watching replays after that, because I think I was too little to, really comprehend what was going on, or even to remember it now. But I do remember seeing that. They had some success from 1954 to 1959. They were also pennant contenders in 1960 through 65. But their main glory years was from 1966 to 1983. And probably from then on, from 1984 on, they really haven't, pushed the postseason very often. Well, they may have made postseason appearances, but I don't believe they've won a World Series in the past probably the past decade or two, I would guess. But they are still, they're in the toughest division in the American League, so you guys can't really blame them. To have to deal with the Red Sox, the Yankees, and even the Blue Jays and the Rays, who are coming up as big players in that division right now. And here's Jose Bautista, a lot of people's favorite players nowadays. And the Orioles have a great ballpark, Camden Yards at Oriole Park. I really like this ballpark. It's kind of an old style ballpark, but I think it was made sometime in the early 2000s, maybe the mid 2000s. I'm not 100% sure. But if you do notice, they went back to the old logo and uniform styles. I believe these uniforms were used back in the 1980s, if I remember correctly, from what I read earlier. But basically, their team right now is consisted of, subpar players. They do have some really good young guys like Adam Jones right there, as you see, in center field. Matt Wieters is a really good catcher, probably one of the better catchers in the American League at this time. And they also have a lot of role players. J.J. Hardy is their starting shortstop, but he is a very, very diverse type of shortstop. He has a lot of surprising power, which surprised me last year when he hit as many home runs as he did. The one thing that's been lacking for them, in my opinion, has been the starting pitching and even pitching itself. They don't exactly have a star-studded starting rotation. You may not even know anyone in their starting rotation unless you're an Orioles fan. But they still kind of have, I wouldn't say they have, a decent team, but they are an okay team. They're not like a team that's going to lose 100 games this season. And I don't think they're going to win the division this year. I don't think they're going to go to the postseason this year or really anytime soon. But still, you still have to give them some credit for at least trying and not moving divisions. Like, I've heard some rumors that some teams, well, you already know about the Astros leaving the NL Central and going to the AL West, but they're not exactly moving to, a slack division. They're going to a division where they're going to, be in the same position they were in the NL Central. But I've heard some, debates about, or from other people saying, why don't the Seattle Mariners move to a different division and get away from the Rangers and the Angels now that they probably won't have a shot to win the division, for a good couple of years. Now that, the Angels have Pujols and the Rangers are always good. But that's not my opinion. Or I think, teams should stay where they're at. So right now, the Orioles starting lineup, or they're like, the depth chart right now. They've got Nolan Reimold in left field. In center field, they have Adam Jones. Right field, they have Nick Markakis, who I think is a really, really good player and underrated. Third base, you have Mark Reynolds and Wilson Betterment, who kind of platoon over there now. Shortstop, they have J.J. Hardy. Second base, they have Robert Andino. First base, Chris Davis, a former Ranger. Behind the plate, I mentioned Matt Wieters is there, and they also have Ronnie Paulino. For their DH, they use Wilson Betterment, Nick Johnson, Mark Reynolds, and Chris Davis, so they have pretty good power from the left side there with Betterment, Nick Johnson, and Chris Davis, and then you throw in Reynolds when Betterment is playing third base. Their starting rotation, in the A spot, they have Jake Arrieta. Tommy Hunter is number 2. Jason Hamill came over in the Jeremy Guthrie deal from the Rockies. He is at number 3. Some guy named W. Chen, I'm not exactly sure who he is. And then Brian Mattis is number 5. And I have to say, before we go any further into the bullpen or anything else, Brian Mattis has been the biggest disappointment for me. I really liked him when he came up his rookie and sophomore year. I really think he did a really good job for the Orioles. But he's kind of slacked off the past couple of years. If you've seen now his start this year, he's like 0-3 with like a +10 ERA. I think I'm not 100% sure on those numbers, but I know he is not exactly performing up to the level that people thought of him. So in the bullpen, they have Luis Ayala, Pedro Strop, T. Patton, Darren O'Day, Matt Lindstrom, who came over from the Astros, Kevin Gregg. And their closer is Jim Johnson, and I'm pretty sure they use Kevin Gregg and Matt Lindstrom in closing situations also. On their disabled list, they have Zach Britton, who is a starting pitcher, Brian Roberts, who is their starting second baseman, normally when he's healthy, but he's had injury-filled seasons for the past couple of years. Taylor Teagarden is a catcher, and another guy that I don't think you guys would care to know. So that's basically their team right now. And looking at the roster that I just gave you guys, like I've said before, I don't think that they would, be able to win the AL East or even a wild card spot. But, it's whatever. I don't think it's, mandatory for a team to win a playoff spot or a division title when they're at the state that the Orioles are, when they know that they're not, any good. I'm trying to stay away from saying that they suck, but, they don't suck. They're just not there yet. They're kind of like, I'm trying to think of a team. Oh, man. I can't really think of a team, but a team like that has potential, but just isn't playing up to it and doesn't have, you know, that leader on the team that is taking control and, you know, making them play better. And I really think if they want to do that, they need to get Adam Jones, if he's not already, to step up in that leader role, because he is the best player on the team, hands down. He has got to be the best player on the Baltimore Orioles today, and you know, I really think that he would be a good option for that team leader spot, because you know, he is, you know, that kind of guy that could light a fire under a team and take them to the postseason if he plays to his potential. Also, I think for their success, I think they need to add a starting pitcher, you know, a defined good starting pitcher, either near the trade deadline this year or in the off season. But they really need to add, you know, a guy that you can count on to go out there every fifth day and get you a win, because I don't really think they have that in their rotation, and I don't think that they believe any of their guys in their rotation can go out there and win every time they go out. Of course, they're going to think that they can win, but I don't think that they're expecting them to, you know, have Cy Young seasons or anything like that. So that's going to wrap up my first installment of 30 clubs in 30 weeks. I hope you guys like this episode. I hope you guys like this idea of a series, and hopefully next time I'll be able to play a game and then record my commentary over the game so you can get a little bit better action with the gameplay. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, subscribe and drop that like if you enjoyed. Now, I'll be signing out now. See you guys later, and our next video will be with the Boston Red Sox. See you guys.